Well, Agrivo was set up for the purpose of being in the agriculture industry because my partner, Dato has been in the property development sector for about 3 to 4 years. So it was then that actually we found a land in Cambodia, in Kampot region. That's the 350 hectares of land which we bought. From there we realized that actually whenever you fly in from a macro perspective or from a bird eye view, it's always two different kind of things that you'll see, or rather two industries you'll see. One is property development and the other one is agriculture. So this was just very natural that we went into these two businesses. In Singapore right now, it's a lot about sustainability as well. It's how we're going to increase our production, our yield with the limited space that we have. MedTech, FinTech, all this has passed. They have passed for a while already, and now agriculture is really the thing that the government is really pushing very hard for. From a business perspective, there are a lot of companies that are already doing high-tech farming. But for Agrivo, it's a little bit different. We traveled to like London, US, different parts of the world basically to just understand their technology. And after that, we bring it back to Singapore, bring back the best practices and then incorporate into our technology. Well, a 2,000 square feet farm will cost you about $1 million Singapore dollars. Of course, a lot of people will say, wow, the capex is so high. But in the long run, like what I mentioned, with the same space, you can produce a lot more vegetables. Well, we're talking about 27 tons a year
27
for a 2,000 square feet farm. Yeah. At a period of 2 to 3 years actually to recover your investment. We all look at the long run, right? It's just like I always tell people, if you don't invest now, you will just regret later. And that's what a lot of farmers are facing right now, especially traditional farmers. A lot of them actually started for a lower cost, buying just land and growing more vegetables. The only way to increase is buying more land. But in today's world, in today's technology, you do not need to just keep increasing your land space, but rather how you're going to improvise your technology to increase your yield. Well, I grow different vegetables. I have kale, I have spinach, I have mint. I have different kind of imported vegetables. But that's for the high-tech farming side. Of course, we also invest in other agriculture businesses such as mushrooms. We also invest in pepper, like I mentioned to you, the 350 hectares in Kampot region. Agrivo, we try to invest in the entire agricultural value chain. So in today's climate, we already have the farm, we have the trading arm, and we have the logistics as well. So they're pretty much all the way 3/4 past the value chain. Wow, you'll be surprised, it's extremely high actually. In fact, we bring in about 100 tons of vegetables from Malaysia every year. So you'll be impressed by how much vegetables we actually eat. In Singapore, right, we are one of those countries that is a little bit unique. Compared to other countries, we have limited land. But then again, our population size is not small. In Singapore, what we are really good in is branding. I mean, you go anywhere in the world, you just tell somebody you're a Singaporean company. Many at times, people would really want to hear from you and what you're actually doing. So from a business perspective, we're actually planning to come up with a building that incorporates not only vegetable farming, but also doing, like for example, aquaculture, doing also probably eggs, chicken farm, all into one building. So from Singapore perspective, we are able to IP the whole system of doing this. For example, your water flow, your waste management, stuff like that. And from that, we are able to sell all of our produce on the first floor, which is a supermarket. So the supermarket will not consist of only our vegetables and our fruits, but also bring in other supplies from people. But at the same time, we are still providing that kind of system to allow people to understand actually your food comes from where. With that, you cover a few things. You cover the education aspect of it for students. You cover the tourism. You cover the most important thing which Singapore is facing now, a retail problem. A lot of empty buildings, if you realize, a lot of empty shops. A lot of people, a lot of building owners, their shops is just with a panel and say something is coming soon, but you will never come. You know, because the retail industry is just so bad right now. So we are trying to improvise all this, working with building owners, working with also the government to come together and do this. Yeah, I mean, in fact, that was what Orchard Road was previously, right? In the 70s, we were able to produce more than enough vegetables for ourselves. Or rather, we can even import some of the meats out of this Singapore. So in today's circle, the only problem we have is because all these became buildings, right? So now it's for us, from a Singaporean, the new generation of Singaporean, to see how we can make use of what is existing, you know, to reincorporate that kind of production that we could have done. But from a Singapore perspective, I mean, we solved the water problem in Singapore. Our government solved the water problem. But today, the next question is how are you going to solve the food shortage problem? For me, actually, being an entrepreneur is all about the mindset. I always tell people you can have a wonderful business plan, but without a proper mindset and a correct leadership, no matter how good your business plan is, it will fail. From my perspective, or even for my partner Dato Nicholas' perspective, we focus very much on the leader itself. Why we also invest very heavily on startups is because we believe that the leader makes a difference. When we fund companies or when we fund startups or when we incubate startups, we see a few things in people, like for example character, leadership qualities such as how you lead your team, how you speak, because speaking is also very important because a lot of them have to go out for fundraising as well. So these bits and pieces of these things that come together that we actually judge these companies before we invest into them. I personally feel there are a lot of passionate people who are trying agriculture right now. But I always tell people you have to balance off passion and business, because a very passionate chef may not be a very good businessman. A lot of restaurant, I would say owners, they may not be the best in what they are doing in terms of restaurant, cooking and stuff, or serving. But yeah, they are great businessmen. But a great chef may not necessarily, be running a perfect restaurant as generating high income. Well, I came from a wine trade, right? I was a sommelier in Les Amis previously. So sommeliership has a lot to do with agriculture because that's where wine came from. And that's where it really got me interested in viticulture, which is also a part of agriculture. And that brought forward to us in 2014 to take a look at a different kind of land. And specifically in Kampot region, because in the Kampot region of Phnom Penh, it's actually a GI certified area, of which, like Champagne, you only can call the sparkling wine in Champagne, Champagne. Same for Kampot Pepper, you only can call Kampot Pepper in Kampot. So it was only a natural progression, apart from the fact that I really enjoy understanding about how things are done or grown. Well, you'll be surprised, actually Kampot Pepper is very tasteful. The spiciness level and the aroma is very, very, very nice compared to other world pepper. We all know that world pepper price is about 7 to 9 US a kg. Kampot Pepper, there's a reason why it's 15 US a kg. Because it's just, the demand is just so high. People like your celebrity chef Anthony Bourdain, all these people are pushing very hard on Kampot Pepper. Kampot Pepper is more popular in the European region compared to the East. Because like I mentioned, the demand is so high already over there. By the time it is done, or rather a lot of orders are made prior to even harvest. It was this opportunity where I was in Cambodia, and the Chinese Pepper Association happened to come and visit the Kampot region, and that's where a couple of us actually hosted them. And like I mentioned, this Singapore branding is so powerful. When they first spoke to me, we Singaporeans were well versed in Mandarin, English, Malay, so on and so forth. To the Chinese Pepper Association, it was also a great platform or a great opportunity for them to go global, for a very simple reason, because we can speak Mandarin, which is easy to communicate with them. But then again, we are able to communicate what they want to be communicated across to the world because we speak English. I think it was just natural that after a year, I got brought into the Hainan Pepper Association to be their vice president. Well, I think One Belt One Road is fabulous. Why? Because it encourages the ASEAN region to really help one another. From China perspective, it was great because the imports and the exports will be easier. Because right now China is also facing a huge problem in food security. If you ask me, to be honest, China is huge in terms of land. But a lot of their land is also non-arable anymore because of the fact that they used to spray a lot of pesticides. So a lot of their land to recover takes generations. So today they are also working to, especially when China has now increased their birth rate. Why? Because in the past it's only one-child policy, right now they allow two. So their population is just going to increase significantly, and they definitely require more food. So One Belt One Road is not only good for agriculture, but also good for a lot of other businesses in this industry. Well, GMO is not exactly the best thing that we should have. US is very big on GMOs, but this topic has always been a very sensitive issue, mainly because it changes the natural form of food. Well, we all know, if you Google real bananas, how it really looks like versus the bananas we buy in supermarket today is totally different. But in today's circle, we have also understand that most of our seeds that we got is, to a certain extent, is GMO. It's not easy today to get genuine seeds, but GMO does have an effect on people actually, be it their deformities and stuff like that. For traditional methodology of farming, the issue you face is really climate changes. Now with global warming and all the different climatic changes, it's getting harder to predict. In the past, for traditional farming, people are able to read data from 10 years, 15 years, 20 years history. But in today's circle, a lot of farmers, or even when I speak in different seminars, like for example the recent one in Tokyo, people are complaining they can't look at past data anymore. Because today climate is so different. Traditional farming, you have to depend on Mother Nature. But in modern farming, or rather high-tech farming today, you are controlling whatever is happening. You know, a lot of people also ask me this question, what if you do traditional farming versus modern farming? Modern farming, you're using water, hydroponics, aeroponics for instance. But traditional farming, you're really taking the natural source from the soil. You probably get more nutrients and stuff like that. But my question to them was, would you rather have a vegetable with lots of nutrients and huge amount of pesticides? Or would you consider probably lesser nutrients without any pesticides? There's a reason why a lot of high-tech farmers, they are only doing imported vegetables, because the cost, like I mentioned, to set up a farm is high. Of course, with the economy of scale, as we scale, the cost will just be reduced. So eventually you'll see your high-tech farming growing kailan, growing your kangkong and stuff like that. But it will take it will take time. Because high-tech farming today is still not the, I would say, the most affordable methodology of growing vegetables. It's a matter of time that the cost will be reduced. I mean, just like computers in the past, or handphones in the past. 20 years ago, mobile phones were really expensive. But today, we are paying an affordable price for mobile phones. So it's a matter of time that this cost will be reduced with all this involvement. Agriculture is something that's here to stay, be it you love it or not. I would say the other side of the picture is a lot of people do not really understand agriculture. They only thought that the best investment today is property, stuff like that. But they don't really remember that what they are eating every day comes from somewhere. Agriculture is definitely an opportunity, but it's really for us to really educate the upside of the whole agriculture scene to investors and to people outside. Because in the long run, yeah, I mean, agriculture is something that you can't live without.